Hello, it's Film Frenzy, and in my latest movie review, I'm going to be reviewing the 6th Mission Impossible installment, Mission Impossible Fallout. I know it's a little late, but I finally got around to seeing it yesterday, August 7th. I'm ready to get right into it with my first category, direction and visuals. Obviously, this is going to be Mission Impossible Fallout's strong point, and if I could give it a 6 out of 5, I would. But it's on a 5-point scale, so that's a 5 out of 5 right there. Perfect. So, first off, beautiful cinematography. The shots in the mountains of Kashmir, which is in India, they're beautiful. I love how many countries these films are shot in. I think this one was shot in 5, I believe. And they show off Paris, they show off London, Belfast, Berlin. They show off all the cities beautifully. I love the cinematography in these movies, and this one's no exception. Plus, the action, I would say this is the strongest action, maybe of any movie in terms of the stunts. First off, that bathroom scene, the bathroom fight, remarkable. It's insane. Hand-to-hand combat. It's so great how they don't even need CGI, just practical effects. Amazing job. I love how Tom Cruise does his own stunts. Adds a level of authenticity. Also love that action scene where he's running atop the buildings and he jumps over and they actually use the shot where he breaks his ankle. That was crazy. He's such a gamer. And then, of course, the best is the last 15 minutes. Very action-packed as they're trying to defuse the 2 bombs. Plus, there's the helicopter chase, and there's the fight scene. The helicopter's going down the cliff, and the hook that's grappled around it. Just beautifully, expertly shot. They knew what they were doing to raise the tension. Excellent job in this category. Now I'm going to talk about Fallout's acting and character development. It's very difficult to do this category because obviously I love all these characters. I've seen them in 5 feature films before this one. So they're already great characters. Obviously Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt. We know how he likes to think about every single person, not just the millions. And he's just a great guy, and he has tons of integrity. He would never betray his country, and he'll do whatever's right, even if it's a difficult choice. So he's an excellent character, but it was already established. But they further show these character traits, so that was great. Simon Pegg's Benji gets a lot to do in this movie, and he does a great job, as always. Same with Ving Rhames as Luther Stickle. I was upset Jeremy Renner wasn't in this movie as William Brandt, but that was okay. Overall, I think the villains, Solomon Lane, and then Henry Cavill's Walker, who's John Lark, they were okay, but I feel it's very repetitive with the last couple of films, that the villains are really just we just want to destroy the world because then we can give it a renaissance and stuff, and the world will build itself back and be better because you need more suffering brings more peace. But I feel that's never really understood. They can't just keep on having the same villains say stuff like that. So even though they're well acted, obviously the actors in this movie are great and they have decent character development, I feel it's kind of getting repetitive in terms of the villains. But I did like how for characters that change, I always love Alec Baldwin as the secretary of the IMF. He's excellent in this movie. You know how he really shows loyalty to Ethan, but he understands that he has to do what's best for the IMF as a whole. And then Sloane, who's played by Angela Bassett, she's the head of the CIA. She does a great job. I think she actually does show character development as she understands Ethan's perspective as the movie progresses. So that was really great. Overall, I think the character development in this movie is really solid. I think, again, like I said before, the villains, we already went through how they're pretty rough. Although I think Ilsa Faust, just want to add, I kind of forgot about Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust. She's excellent in this movie because she kind of has a conflict of interest with Ethan Hunt, but they still love each other. And Michelle Monaghan returns as Julia, and she does an excellent job as always. So I thought overall this is a great cast of characters. They balance out all of them and give them all their moment perfectly in this film. I do wish, though, that the villains were a little bit more unique and compared to the last couple of films. My final and, in my opinion, most important category are the plot, pacing, script, and theme, the story elements. Like most Mission Impossible films, Fallout has a pretty complex plot, not on the general premise, but instead in the twists and turns as the story goes. And I think it's very good, how there's the broker and the deal, trying to get the plutonium and stuff. I think it's a pretty solid plot. It's pretty complex, but not overly complex, although I think there are some downsides to the plot that I will discuss right now. So, first off, the basic premise, like I said before, is kind of a little bit too much like the last 2, in that the last 3 Mission Impossible films have all been about a villain who wants to destroy the world for some reason to try to bring it back better in the future, whether it be in the fourth one with Evolution or in the last two with the Syndicate, or in this case the Apostles, which are basically the same thing, trying to bring peace to the world after they destroy it. And instead of feeling like a continuation to the last film, which I do like, by the way, how they continue Solomon Lane and the Syndicate story, it kind of felt like more like a reprisal, and that wasn't a good thing. I think it's great. There are some things that they do continue from the last one, such as, like I mentioned before, Ilsa Faust. She now has to do something for MI6 to gain their trust back. And so I think there are some key elements there that do offer a great continuation of story. But then there are some downsides, like I said, with the whole villain plot. And I do think it's kind of cool how they have the CIA kind of monitoring them with Henry Cavill's Walker. I think that's a cool new addition. But I don't like that he just turned out to be a villain. That's a spoiler, but I mean, it's kind of obvious in the trailer. I think they should just not, like, stop with twist villains, maybe. Because you don't need one. If it's a great story, you can just have a full-time villain like Solomon Lane. And it'd be interesting if it was more just a conflict between them on how to get this business done. But instead, he turned out to be the villain, which was really predictable, not great. Also, I want to add that the script, I think, is really solid. It's really funny. Pretty much all the jokes land. And there are some really good dramatic moments that in themselves are great scenes. But in the context of the movie, I felt like they just kind of insert them in kind of not organically in a way. And so it kind of has this drastic tonal shift when you go in and out of them. So you could tell that it's kind of obvious that they just kind of inserted them in. It didn't really feel natural, per se. The pacing, though, was so action-packed and just so fast and consistent. I love that. It is probably the most edgy-seat Mission Impossible movie, one of the most edgy-seat movies of all time, especially the last 15 minutes, which, even though it's kind of like your stereotypical action countdown like finale, it is still very dramatic and intense, and I love that. The theme, there's not like a big one, but there is a main thing about how it's important to save every life matters, and that's Ethan Hunt's motto, and how he, at the beginning of the film, he saves his friend Luther Stickles' life, even if it costs him the plutonium, because every life matters. I think that's a really solid theme in this film. But yeah, overall, I think the plot pacing, script, and theme are pretty solid. There are definitely some downfalls in the cliche action movie territory, but overall, I think it is very solid. So I'll be giving it a 4 out of 5 in this category. So, one more thing I want to add before I reveal the final score is that there is a little bit of confusion. Sometimes these movies can be complex, but I thought it was overly confusing. One scene in particular was in the scene right when you learn Walker's the bad guy, John Lark, and it's in the cave, all the lights turn on, there's all these parties like fighting each other, and I feel like there was a little bit of a sensory overload, too much going on. You couldn't tell if the people shooting at them were the CIA or Apostles. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie, but that's just one thing to add, that it is a little bit confusing and sometimes. But overall, this film is so action-packed, so expertly filmed, great characters, well acted, solid, pretty complex plot. So I'm going to be giving it a 4.25 out of 5. Yes, there are some downfalls to this movie. No, this is not the best Mission Impossible. You can check out my ranking, which is uploaded on my channel. I'll put a link in the description to see what I think of all the 6 of them. But this is a really solid entry in the series. I can't wait to see more. Thank you for watching this Film Frenzy. See you guys later. Bye.